management office, which is coordinating the activities of all the team members that are carrying out the task of transition into the new entity, and also communicating it effectively, not just across at the implementation level, but also at the stakeholder level, at the level of board of directors and of shareholders. Realize the synergy opportunities. Now, whenever a valuation model is done at the time of a transaction, there are two sets of valuations that are done. A valuation on as-is basis and the value of what could be achieved through the synergies. And it is these synergy values that are often lost. I've seen examples where transactions have taken place, the transaction process has dragged on beyond the original timeline, and during that, a lot of things start to fall apart. The customers start getting nervous and they start going away. Employees start getting nervous and they start walking away. And by the time you've actually closed the deal, a lot of things have started to fall apart. So you have to manage not just the time after the integration has taken place, but even in the deal closure stage. But more importantly, ensuring that all the synergies that you've built into your deal rationale are actually achieved after the deal has been closed. And then address the functional complexities. So you've got a fragmented IT infrastructure. You've got a very vast distribution infrastructure. How are you going to make them come together? How are you going to make sure that the synergy benefits are achieved? How do you make sure that they all work together? And when the two systems come online together, they're actually working seamlessly. So the 6 key principles we've put together are to be taken into consideration when you look at any integration scenario. First, start early. Begin early and with urgency. And the importance of effective integration planning cannot be overemphasized. You've got to have a team that's effectively been put in place, and all the planning process has been completed prior to the day one, which is at the start of the implementation process, the integration process starting after the deal has been closed. Confirm strategic rationale and value source. All integration activities should be tested and prioritized against the defined transaction value drivers and synergy goals. A bottoms-up analysis should be done. So all the synergy goals identified, stacked up together, and at the end, what you want to be able to do is actually achieve a lot more than what has been done by just adding up the pieces together. Because when the teams work together, the best practices come together, and you're actually hopefully able to synergize better than what you'd even anticipated in an ideal situation. Then it's very important to define the commercial strategy going forward. The commercial strategy sets the framework under which the combined business is going to operate. And it is important to have that strategy in place and to be able to effectively communicate that across the organization that is going to implement it. And that is why it's also important that your level 1 and level 2 organization is identified. When I talk to people that have gone into M&A transactions, one of the most critical things they identify is people management. The uncertainty that comes across when two organizations come together and people that thought they had a fantastic career in one suddenly find that there is a great deal of uncertainty because two organizations have come together, certain functions may have become redundant. So that needs to be taken care of fairly early in the stage. You've got to be able to identify who are the people that are going to be running the show afterwards and who's going to implement the business plan. Build an effective global team and project management architecture. So I've already talked about that. You have to develop a model that works across your organization. Deliver a meaningful change management and employee communication plan. As I said, M&A implementations are all about people management. It's very important that the right message is prepared for people on day one. Not just people in the business, people that are actually working in these organizations, but also effectively the stakeholders, which are your suppliers and customers. That message has to be clear, it has to be consistent, and it must be effectively communicated across your organization so that everybody is taking the same message across. And plan for a seamless day one and 12-month end state. So your kickoff point, when everything is all systems go, when the deal has been closed, and you're to announce the closure of the deal and announce the merger or the acquisition, all the events for that must be planned in advance. So all your communication protocols, what to say to employees, what to say to customers, what to say to suppliers, what to say to your lenders, what to talk to your shareholders about, and what information needs to come out. All of that has to be effectively in place. And of course, then once the business structure and leadership organization design is complete, the end state plan should commence with the goal of being completed very quickly. Coming to the Integration Management Office, it's important to identify the key objectives of an IMO, establish an approach and methodology that will successfully govern and facilitate the entire integration. It provides a forum where cross-functional issues are resolved. So there's a number of people that are working across supply chain, logistics, IT, finance, and these issues are often crossing over different areas, and it's important that all of these are able to come together and come to a common resolution so that there's no overlaps. Provide a process and methodology to consolidate opportunities and track synergy capture. I think the whole thing about M&As is making sure that those synergies are effectively captured. And provide a conduit to executive leadership and the board on project objectives, decisions, issues, and progress. So while the team is going on and implementing the project, somebody needs to be tracking the progress and tracking that against the original plan, and then making sure that those are effectively being communicated to the board members and the executive management team. So, guiding principles. First, set realistic but challenging targets immediately, including for day one. Second, focus on transition, not transformation. So you're not making a huge transformation, you're transitioning from two entities into one, or you're taking over one entity. And I've seen a number of cases where companies are doing a number of acquisitions, sometimes more than one a year, sometimes several in a year. They prefer to let the systems run as they are sometimes. So have a key layer that ensures that each of the different entities are organizationally and operationally running before an effective plan is made out to integrate all of them together. So the transition has to be effectively managed. Third, make the tough decisions early on. Waiting to make critical decisions can often destroy a lot of value. Fourth, focus both on integration and on running the business. So putting everything together, the systems and processes, you can't disrupt your normal running of the business. That has to continue. Follow through and follow up, fostering accountability and developing a cadence that can embed in follow up into the organization. So making sure that everybody knows what their task is and when they're supposed to achieve the different timelines and targets. And again, that's where the IMO comes in strong. And very, very important, communicate, communicate, communicate. In the absence of clear communication and frequent communication, it's very easy to fall off the schedule and the chart. So these are details. I think, given the time constraints, I'm going to leave this for the members to see in detail in their when the presentation is handed out and put in the chart. But basically, when we mobilize, get the teams working together, have a day one plan, have employee and customer experience plans, so you want to be able to effectively communicate and tell them what the organization is about to do and where they're going in it. A value realization plan, so you've got to clearly be able to understand where the value is generated from. I've been in 2 transactions where the value was immediately lost after the transaction because the transition plan wasn't very effectively carried out. Where in one instance, the product that was the key product of a company immediately lost value because the conditions started to change, and that was not factored in. And in one case, there was a company, it was actually in the education sector, where during this whole transition phase, the quality of services fell so bad that the new year started with half the children's intake in that particular school. So that transition management has to be very, very effective, and anything that can go wrong should probably be expected to go wrong, and therefore managed well in advance. Commercial business unit and business structure designs, have an integration plan in mind which takes into consideration what your business structure is going to be, how you're going to effectively run your business, who are going to be the people that are going to run it, have an end state organization in mind, an end state process and policy, identify integration projects which are quick wins, and have synergy plans tied to these projects. Procurement value realization. Here, there are 6 key elements. So you've got to be able to leverage on the scale that has been achieved by getting volume synergies. You can have specification improvements that are there to create an advantage for you. Substitute, rationalize, standardize, and harmonize the products. You have best price evaluation. There's huge amount of data that is now accessible. With 2 entities coming together, you can find the best deals that are available in the market. We can renegotiate prices based on your scale with your suppliers. There can be opportunities for joint process improvements in a manufacturing setup. Demand management can be a source which can again give you benefits, and relationship restructuring. So develop key suppliers, employ strategic alliances and partnering, create market entry alliances, and develop integrated supply chain. Then, dealing with the complex IT environment, I think there's been a lot of discussion around it. I'm going to just talk about the key areas. One is business process and systems integration. So there are several challenges in that. Different business processes across different functions impact business planning, accuracy, and flexibility. There are different approaches to complex risks, and then there are implications for integration. Again, I'm going to skip over these, and these can be looked at in detail. IT service application infrastructure rationalization, where your IT is spread out. You've got to be able to have visibility into an integrated performance. Look at the architecture, separate and independent IT operations. Sorry, it's going back. On the IT operating model, you have distributed IT operating model, governance, security, and demand management. That's a key challenge. So you've got to agree on operating principles, single governance model, and identify combined infrastructure application. For distributed IT, delivery posture, mainframe, etc. This requires you to integrate demand management, value capture and synergy realization, and of course, cybersecurity. These are all areas that have challenges, and there are definitely solutions for improving that. In summary, integration priorities are required to be delivered onto your M&A objectives. The key work streams are business structure, operating model, and organization design. We've talked about that, designing a higher level operating model, business structure. Have a commercial strategy that is in place, define a business structure on what is the product and go-to-market strategy for the acquirer. Product consolidation, define the product brand strategy, sales and marketing. The integration management office, we've talked in detail about that, how the integration management office is supposed to identify the priorities, make the teams work together and communicate effectively. Identify the synergies, making sure that all the synergy benefits of the transaction are identified, optimized, and realized. Communication and change management. There are obviously 2 different business processes, systems running in the organization. So the revised model or the consolidated model or the integrated model has to be discussed between the key participants from both the entities and communicated across. IT, we've talked about that. Procurement, again, making sure that there's continuity of supply, verify the supply chain, enable delivery of end-to-end solutions, enabling revenue synergies, prioritize effort to enable energy, enable functions and processes to drive cross-selling opportunities. And in functional matters, again, looking at human resource elements, provide guidance on day one readiness, provide HR functional support to work streams. So these are all the elements that actually need to come together in an integration model. This can be a very long discussion point, but I think that's the best I can sum up in the 25 minutes available, which is probably crossed over. And I think that's really all I have at this point. Thank you. Happy to take questions if you've got any.
If there are any questions for Mr. Asim Siddiqui, feel free to ask. Thank you so much, Mr. Asim.
Thank you.
I think we've truly learned some amazing insights into mergers and acquisitions and how to go around it, how to address it, and how to align our business objectives with the other commercial and financial considerations that we have. Thank you so much. If I can request you to just be here for a while. If I can request Mr. Rashid Ibrahim, Council Member ICAP, to please come over and present a memento to Mr. Asim. Thank you for taking out time. Thank you so much. Can we clap for Mr. Asim? Thank you. Sir, if I may request you, just one more souvenir from you. If I can request Dr. Hart Noik to come forward for the memento of the day. Thank you for...
I'm not a doctor.
Yes, you're a doctor of hospitality. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Asim. Please. We have received a number of requests where people have specifically asked us that we want to ask questions from Dr. Jose, and and he's made himself available for us. So we have a few mementos, and after that, Dr. Jose will take on any questions you have regarding the future and how the global trends have been affecting us. But just before that, I would like to request Mohammed Maqbool, Saab, Council Member ICAP, to please come forward, and we have 2 mementos to hand over. Can we clap for Mr. Mohammed Maqbool, Saab? ICAP has been arranging a Battle of Brains competition, and we have 2 winners for this. May I request Shaukat Hussain to please come forward. He is the winner of the Battle of Brains. And he has to receive this memento for winning the Battle of Brains. We have another winner, Saqib Riaz. It's all right. Can we clap for Mr. Saqib Riaz for winning the Battle of Brains? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maqbool Sahab. Last but not the least, if I may request Mr. Abdullah Yusuf Sahab, Senior Council Member and ex-Chairman FBR, to come forward to present a few mementos. Now, with great pleasure, I would like to invite Jody to come forward and receive her memento from Mr. Abdullah Yusuf. She's taught us to clap, she's taught us to smile. Can we clap for one? Can we give her a big round of applause? Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you so much. Sir, one. Sir, one. Now, if I may request Dr. Jose Cordero to come forward and receive his memento from Mr. Abdullah Yusuf. Thank you, Abdullah Saab. Dr. Jose, if you don't mind bearing for a few more minutes. And we have some questions from the audience, and we would appreciate if you can take some questions. Can the ushers please get the mics?
You see, you mentioned there that the automation and technology change is coming for lawyers and the accountants. The next thing, change for the accountants and the lawyers. What kind of change effect you see on the accountant with that change in technology?
Well, actually, most professions in the future will be automated with artificial intelligence. But this is actually for our own benefit. We will be doing more interesting things, even if we don't have normal accountants in the future, or if we don't have normal lawyers, or even normal doctors. They will be doing more personal-to-personal activities, I think, which is value added. Also, we will be communicating in more advanced ways. I'm answering you in a primitive way speaking. I really hope in the future to tell you from my mind to your mind. And I will think in Spanish, which is my mother tongue. And I don't know if you speak Punjabi.
Punjabi.
Okay, Punjabi. So from Spanish into Punjabi, direct. Okay, and we will communicate better, and we will have better legal systems, accounting systems. So anyway, don't get scared. I think the world is full of possibilities and positive opportunities.
Great.
Okay.
Any more questions for Dr. Jose? Any questions to do with the future? Yes, there we have.
I will try to read your mind in the in-between.
My name is Saeed Mubashir Ali. I'm working for a public sector company. I want to ask, I just remember after the great presentation by you regarding the future emerging and the automation, everything like that. There was a program I viewed at some time that there was some store of artificial intelligence to you can, the life is mortal. You have to die after certain time, 70 years, 80 years. And how that mind, you acquired knowledge all over your life, that is to be given or transferred to someone else. That was going on. Do you know about that progress, that brain transplant is possible or not like that?
Well, two things.
You got me?
Two parts of that question. One about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I think we are going to have incredible advantages of artificial intelligence. And some people are worried about artificial intelligence, but I think we should be worried about human stupidity. And human stupidity is very natural. So how can you be afraid of being more intelligent? Even if it is not only you. You have a mobile telephone, you have a computer, they make you more intelligent. We will have devices that will make us more intelligent. Also, that will make us live longer because we will discover the secrets of healthy aging and healthy lifespans. So this is also positive. If we can be in a healthy way for longer time, to keep on enjoying life, to keep on working, to keep on loving people, to keep on being more human and friends with others, I think this is all positive, really. And Pakistan that is a very humanitarian country. You know, people here relate to a lot of people very much more so than in other advanced societies. Here I find people who are very close to other people. I find that beautiful, fantastic. You know, sometimes you go to the USA and they don't want to talk to you. So this is a very humane society, and I think we can take advantage of that and live longer and use more intelligence.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good.
Thank you very much. Any question? Any more questions? There we go.
Firstly, thank you very much for a very futuristic, insightful presentation. I have a very simple question. I mean, thanks to technology, you've said we not just be able to choose the gender of the baby, but we'll also be able to choose the characteristics. And thanks to this technology, we'd be able to live forever. I mean, don't you think things like these is kind of like messing with Mother Nature, the overall balance of the ecosystem? I mean, if nobody dies, you get to choose your babies of your own choice, their own characteristics. I mean, don't you think it would disturb the overall balance of how things work?
Well, these are very difficult questions, and they have to do with morality, with philosophy, with religion. But we live in a global world. And then, for example, in China, they are already doing some of these things. So in the world of the future, do you want to be with China, behind China, ahead of China? We have to think globally. In China, they already did last week a treatment modifying an embryo, a human embryo, to eliminate some diseases. You can do this today. If you know that your baby is going to have a disease, do you want to have your baby with the disease, or if possible, without the disease? I think most parents would not want to have the disease if it is possible. Actually, life is like that. You choose your wife, or with your family, whatever, or they choose you, okay? So we keep on choosing continuously, and you try to choose the best for you. So if you can choose a better child, I think you are going to have a better child. And anyway, you want your child to be intelligent, not to be stupid, right? So you try always the best for you, for your family, for your country, and I find this normal. And if you have more possibilities of doing this better, you will probably do it. Also, because if you do not do it, you will be at a disadvantage, because the Chinese will do it. So I think we have to be very practical on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jose. Okay, one last question for the day.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. My name is Farooq Sheikh. I'm a consultant by profession. I'm a marketing professional. So it's good to be with the all finance professionals and my colleagues. It's an insightful experience for me to be here. I learned a lot about all of you. Doctor, very thought-provoking presentation, and as you know that change is the only thing which is constant. If you do not change yourself, change will change you. That's the lines I read in my strategic management course. I still recall that. So you helped me in being nostalgic about IBA. So my question is that like this, you talked about the innovation, you talked about the changes which are happening in the world. And as far as these are concerned, these are mostly taking place in the developed part of the world. Whereas the underdeveloped nations like Pakistan, we are still in certain, like we are still, our basic issues are still unresolved. The education, the health. So what is your take on that, that how far will it take these underdeveloped nations to catch up with these changes taking place around the globe?
Fantastic question. And also I come from the developing world. I was born and grew up in Venezuela in South America. So I am aware of these real issues because we are behind many things. However, thanks to technology and thanks to globalization, the gap is getting narrower, smaller. As I showed, today the poorer countries are growing faster on average. Okay, you know, India now is growing even faster than China. Pakistan will be catching up fairly soon. Africa has been growing over 5% in the last decade. So poorer countries are catching up. And there is also something about technology. Technology, when it begins, it is very expensive, but also it is very bad. You know, if you remember the first mobile telephones, they were bigger than these, and they were almost useless, and they could only do one thing, more or less, which is make phone calls. Today, any mobile phone is a computer, and they are very cheap. And everybody, everywhere today, who wants to have a cell phone has a cell phone. It might not be a smartphone, but it is a cell phone. And in 5 years, they will truly be intelligent. All the telephones will be intelligent. They will be actually computers, and they will be connected to free internet. This will narrow the gaps between you, me, and anyone or everyone, because there will be no barriers, no frontiers to knowledge. It will be the total democratization of knowledge. So I want to be optimistic, and I repeat, when technologies begin, they are expensive and bad. When they are massified, when they are democratized, they become cheap and very good. So this is the opportunity for Pakistan, for Venezuela to leapfrog, to jump ahead in many ways. Like Africa. Africa has gone from no telephones at all, no mobile telephones, to everybody having a cell phone. The same is going to happen with energy. Pakistan, you know, if you move into renewables, which are decentralized, like solar energy or wind energy, that you can put anywhere, you can move from having no electricity to every person in this country to have electricity, renewable, and very cheap in 10 years. So you can leapfrog all the electrical systems of today, which will be obsolete. Also hospitals. The hospitals of today in the USA, they are very expensive and relatively inefficient. In 5 to 10 years, we will have very advanced medical technology, which will be very cheap, and that you can take anywhere in the planet. So you don't need to build these expensive hospitals in Pakistan. You can leapfrog ahead. So again, try to be optimistic. These technologies will be available for everybody in Pakistan, everywhere in the world, in Africa, in South America. So keep your head open, your mind open, and get ready for a fantastic future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jose. We are truly grateful. I think he deserves another round of applause for taking out so much time and inspiring us into the world of imagination, which you never know will turn into reality one day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, thank you. On this note, I would like to request the very Honorable Mr. Abdullah Yusuf, very senior council member, the ex-chairman, Federal Board of Revenue, to come forward and conclude the conference with a vote of thanks. Thank you so much. Can we clap for Mr. Abdullah Yusuf?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much. I have just been asked to say thank you to all of you for actually participating fully in this day session that we've had. This CFO conferences, actually it was, as you heard this morning also, were initiated by Yaqub Sattar, who was the chairman at the time of the council committee. And since then, we have been having them twice a year. And it is something which I feel is an extremely useful interaction, which as we saw today, and we experienced that. Now, the starting point was that future projections of international scenario, what we are actually supposed to expect, that's how we are supposed to move forward. And a very, very, I thought, educative session. And then, of course, we have the professional inputs. Predominantly, what we are hoping to see is that the CFO, is going to actually take over as a CEO. Now, this is that target which I feel that all our colleagues, CFO colleagues, should be having and should be trying to achieve, because otherwise, are you supposed to stay on and work on as a CFO rest of your career and life? You have to have the step forward, and that is possible. It's not something which is impossible. And then, of course, what we had, which I thought, at least in my experience, was the first time ever I saw the laugh session. And this laugh session was amazing and so entertaining. And it was really, really excellent. And I'm pretty sure all of you must have also enjoyed. And it was something worth now looking at going forward as well. Seeing you again, and thank you so much. And we also now, basically, I would like to thank, starting with the council and the committee of the council, going ahead with the CFO conferences, all the members of this committee, the chairman, the members, and of course, then our staff, ICAP staff, who have been involved with the arrangements all this period, and certainly all the participants who have actually devoted their time for this day today. And I am pretty sure and hopeful that they would be going back with some kind of a feedback or input. And I also would like to thank Khurram, our Master of Ceremonies, for really having a very, very, interesting and a kind of a positive approach for the different sessions that we have been actually having. Now, what I don't want to do is to come between yourselves and a cup of tea, which I believe is now ready. So, thank you all once again, and hope now to see you again, hopefully, in the next session, and wish you, and that is going to be in Lahore now. Okay, so all the best to you, and Khuda Hafiz. Bye-bye.